Come on in. Hi, welcome. I'm Stephanie. How are you doing? Are you Debbie?
I'm Debbie.
Debbie, pleasure to meet you. Come take a seat, why don't you?
Okay.
So nice to meet you finally. I was able to speak with your daughter, and she told me a little bit about yourself, and really glad that we're going to get some, get to know you better. And in this session, I definitely just want to get to know about you.
Okay. Well, she really wanted me to come, so I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, let's just start off with maybe some basics, get you accustomed to, how the format will be for you, and so you can be comfortable. And I want this to be a safe place for us, so we can talk about anything you want to talk about that's bothering you, or anything you've been feeling or experiencing. And really today we just want to get a little better understanding of what brings you here today. Maybe some concerns of your daughter. How does that sound to you, Debbie?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, she's worried about a lot of things that aren't really happening, so that'll be good.
I see. Okay. And we can definitely discuss that today. Definitely want to make sure you feel heard and that we're going over some of your concerns. So is it all right if we get started, Debbie?
Sure.
Okay. So how old are you today?
I'm 71.
71. Wow, Debbie, I can't wait to just dive right in and see the experiences you've had. And I want to first off thank you for coming in for this interview today, because it takes a lot of courage to be able to do that. And just a couple quick questions we're going to fill out here just for your background, so we know for future sessions. What is your ethnic background, or what would you associate with?
I'm Jewish.
You're Jewish, okay. So is my stepsister. Okay, and what would you classify your economic status to be? Socioeconomic, so middle class, lower class, upper middle?
Middle class, probably upper middle class. My
Okay.
husband had a very good job.
Okay. And how would you rate your outlook on life on a scale of 1 to 10? Do you think 1 being very negative, not much really going to look forward to, versus a 10 where everything is looking great, very positive? Just kind of want to gauge where your outlook on life at this point is.
Well, for most of the time it was probably like 8 or 9 or 10. But since my husband died, we did so many things together, and he was so good to me, and so it's been way less since then. It's lonely without him, so I'd say it's way less.
Okay, and I totally understand that. That's definitely something very common. You're experiencing, you're grieving. You're in the process of grieving the loss of a loved one, your husband. And how many years, if you don't mind me asking, were you married?
We were married for 48 years.
Wow, that is so great, Debbie.
Yes, I really miss him.
You do?
I do. He was my best friend.
I'm so sorry for your loss, Debbie. And, I think part of our work here, if we develop this therapeutic alliance and relationship together, we can really dive deep and see, ways you can make meaning out of that loss. And, I just want you to know he would want you to live out your life happy and appreciate your grandkids and your family. And but definitely we want to be sensitive to that, because that's a normal part of the grieving process. It is still very fresh, and you were married so long. It's definitely something, it's tough. And
no, it's been 6 months, and some people say it's time to get over it and move on, and other people say you have to wait at least a year before you make any big changes. So I'm just not sure what comes next or when, but right now it's very sad.
Okay. And when you think of, or when you feel that sadness, when do you feel that the most? Is there a certain part of the day where you feel that the most, or maybe something that maybe triggers that? Is there something, when do you notice that sadness, that feeling of loneliness and sadness the most?
Well, I feel very sad all the time because I really miss him. But the most of the loneliness, like around dinner time, if I don't have plans, we had dinner together every night. So when he's not there, I really miss him then, or in the evenings, and for sure at bedtime, going to bed alone. So it can come any time too. Sometimes in the middle of the day.
Okay. Well, definitely we're going to go through that grieving process together in
Okay.
our sessions together, but want to kind of circle back and kind of see what really brought you in today and how we can work together to make sure you're living a healthy lifestyle, you're safe where you're living and feeling good and trying to be as positive as possible. I know your daughter had mentioned she's concerned a little bit about you being alone, living alone in the house. You know, it's a 2-story home, and you know, how do you feel about her expressing that concern? Does
Well, I know
that
Lisa worries about me. She's my one child who lives nearby,
Lisa?
and she sees me the most. You know, I'm still, you know, I can walk and do exercise, and you know,
Great.
I'm not a frail old lady like
No,
she's
you are not.
worried about me. So, you know, I can do whatever I want to. It's just that lately I don't want to very much. You know, like, what's the point of cooking dinner just for myself?
I
I have to
see.
eat it by myself.
I see.
You know, when I'm with family or when I go out with friends, it's okay. But, you know, there's a lot of time to fill up by myself. So, that's the part that's the loneliest and the saddest.
Loneliest. I can definitely understand, and I can't even imagine what you're going through. But it's big strides to come here today and be able to talk about it, and I think being able to work together to overcome that and be able to cope with that grief and to be able to still live your life. So why don't we maybe take a couple minutes and talk about if there's any other medical conditions or illnesses you're dealing with, medications you may be taking, and then maybe some family history, if there's any history of mental health issues. I know your daughter had mentioned, you know, since passing of your husband that she was concerned and maybe had some, was wondering a little bit more about depression medications, didn't know if that was something that might be something we should consider for your case. Definitely wanted to get your input before
So, yeah, I'm really a person, I really don't like to take medication.
we...
So, you know, only if it's really necessary
Okay.
and really works. So, I'm not sure how medicine stops you from being sad.
I see. No. And, you know, if we were to go down that road, me as the psychotherapist, I would not be prescribing the medications. I would refer you to a psychiatrist for that referral. So I'm just trying to gauge and see, would you be open to having a meeting, a sit down with a psychiatrist, just to kind of evaluate? I can see you're struggling with the loss of your husband, and if it is in fact impeding in your daily life and your emotions and quality of life, you know, maybe that is something that we can explore as an option.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it would work, but I think Lisa really wants me
Lisa
to
does?
try
Okay.
that. So I'd be willing to find out
Okay.
about it.
Okay. Well, with your permission, it sounds like I will reach out to Lisa this week, your daughter, and see if we can get a referral going for, you know, I've got my list of referrals as well for psychiatrists, and, you know, certainly understand your cautions about going medications, but that's just something I definitely wanted to bring up in our first session. And then remind me, is there any other medical condition you're dealing with currently or any current medications that I should be aware of?
I don't think so. I'm pretty healthy. We did a lot of things.
Healthy lifestyle. Good.
Yeah, you know, so there's nothing. I don't take any like regular medication for anything. I take vitamins.
Sure.
And calcium.
That's
Just
great.
stay
Keep those
healthy.
bones healthy. Keep that vitamin D and calcium going. You know, something I wanted to talk about today, briefly at least, was your relationships in your life. So maybe we could take a few minutes and look at the other relationships outside of family, so outside of Lisa and your other. So you have Lisa, and then do you have any other?
I have a
children?
son,
Okay.
and his name is Scott. And he
Okay.
lives out of town. He's
does.
married, and he's
Okay.
got children too. So I have grandchildren out of town and here, and I go visit them, and they come and visit. So, you know, when I'm with them, everything feels better.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, they have busy lives too, and, you know, a single person just isn't always included everywhere.
Sure.
So those are the lonely times.
Sure. And something, you know, to kind of curb that loneliness is to build those friendships and keep those activities. You know, I know worked with several clients and in working in therapy, it's important to keep your hobbies, and you know, I've had clients before who are into art or who are into current events. Is that something you process?
Well, I really like reading. I go to book discussion groups, and I do keep up with current events.
Great.
And I play mahjong. I've played mahjong with a group of friends for a long, long time.
Oh, that's so good.
You know, we're kind of our support group. And then I have another friend, whenever we go out for lunch, she calls it our therapy sessions. We're always there for each other. So I do have a lot of support. I'm not all alone at home all the time with nothing to do. I know Lisa thinks I'm some sad, decrepit little person, but you know, that's not it. It's just, you know, I love my husband. We had a good marriage, and it's just sad not to be able to share everything with him.
I can totally understand where you're coming from, Debbie. And, you know, I think we're going to all be here to work together. And like I said at the beginning of this interview, we are working to foster trust and respect and open communication. So anything we talk about in this space here, when you come for our next session, if you so choose to, this is a safe place to talk. And I would only ever communicate with Lisa or any one of your other children if I had your permission. So is there anything else in terms of maybe your expectations for therapy, or maybe some things you might be concerned about coming to therapy? Was there anything that maybe...
Well, I've never really gone to therapy, so I don't know very much about it.
Okay.
I know some people who have gone, but they don't really talk about what it is exactly.
That happens in this
So what happened? Right. So I'm, you know, I know Lisa wants the best for me, and I'm willing to find out about it. You know, I'm not really sure if it's going to help or not, but you know, she is really wants to see me happier, and she thinks it would help. So I'm willing to find out about it.
Okay. Definitely. I think that's a good attitude to have. I think being open-minded, coming in to see me is very important, and we're all here to help, and we just want to make sure your transition, you know, if that means we're, you know, you're going to be moving from your house or moving in with...
Well, I didn't say anything about moving.
And Debbie, let's backtrack a little. What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't know. I haven't talked about moving. I don't know why you're talking about that. If that's why Lisa had me come here, so I have to move, that's not what I want.
Okay. When I spoke to Lisa, she said you were having some problems remembering where you put things or taking your vitamins. She was concerned with it being a 2-story house, that if for some reason you fell during the night. So I just want to gauge where you're feeling at with this.
Well, I love my house. It's where our life was together, and I just can't think about leaving. It's bad enough losing Paul. I can't imagine losing the house too and not having our memories together.
I see. So what do you think, you know, taking that into consideration, what do you think some of the options are when speaking with Lisa about, you know, standing up for yourself and keeping your independence, but at the same time, you know, maybe this is an indication for a life change?
Well, I'm not sure why she's worried. I don't think there's been a problem. I think I'm pretty fit for my age, and you know, just because Paul died doesn't mean I'm suddenly incapable of doing what I was doing last year.
See. And I haven't met Lisa yet, but I honestly don't think Lisa is intending to make you feel that way. But these are decisions that are very emotional, and you've been through a lot. It sounds like, you know, the loss of your husband recently, and it was so fresh. I can certainly understand the frustration and the kind of, you know, why me? Why is this happening? Why do we have to do this? And, you know, some of the work we'll be doing together, we'll be kind of going through that journey. And I'm here to help. So when you reach that point where...
Well, if you can help me convince her that I can live in my own house and I'm not a baby just because Paul died, that would be really good. I would
I see what
really
you're
like
saying.
your help with that.
Well, I'm here to help in any capacity possible. If you'd like me, we can have a family session. Lisa could come into the therapy session with us. That's something that's definitely been effective for some of my other patients, is including the family members, because this is a family decision. And like you said, it sounds like you're living a healthy lifestyle. You've got your friends, you've got your social activities, you're taking care of things around the house, but at the same time, Lisa is concerned, if you, let's say, had a fall or something happened at night and fell down the stairs, if there's no one there, that maybe having a plan in place so that when we are ready for that, if there is a move. Because eventually there may be a time where you might need to move out of the house. We can't all.
Well, I know that might happen sometime, but I just don't think, like I said, just because Paul died doesn't mean I became incompetent overnight. And
That's
I
a
think
very good point.
Lisa needs to, I know she worries about me, and I'm willing, to check in with her and have her know what I'm doing, but I've been independent for a long time, and I'm not ready to become a child all of a sudden.
Yeah, and sometimes we, as parents, as we grow, and I'm a parent myself, as we grow older and age and grow, that sometimes our children kind of take on the parenting role. And that's something of their parents. And I haven't hit that yet, but I can understand from what you're explaining and bringing to me that you want to be, you don't want to give up your independence. You want to be your own person. You want to be Debbie. You want to be the best Debbie you can be and do all your social things. So we're going to work on in here, if we continue the sessions together, which I hope we do, because I really enjoyed meeting you, Debbie. And I really think we're going to benefit from some strategies, specifically cognitive behavioral therapy, which is known as CBT. And that really helps when in a therapeutic setting we're talking about your feelings and emotions and thoughts and behaviors and your physical health. It's all interconnected. So, if we decide, and really hope you take me up on that offer to continue working together, and we can, if you would like, we can include Lisa as well in some of the sessions. It is so powerful to be able to understand why we think a certain way and to not just act impulsively or to say something impulsively. And that's something I think maybe with your relationship with your daughter, specifically with Lisa, is going to be helpful as we move forward in therapy. How does that sound to you?
Well, if you can help me convince her that I'm still a person, and I understand that she's worried about me, but if you can help me convince her that I can still live my life the way I want to, and she doesn't have to be my mother yet. Maybe that day will come sometime, but I don't think it's here yet. And if you can help me convince her of that, I would be very willing to do that.
Well, Debbie, that sounds like a great segue into kind of wrapping up the session for today. I think we're almost out of time for today. But I think you bring up a very valid point that you want your independence. You want to have your life, and you shouldn't have to give that up. The things that you are able to do, just because the years are going by, and you've been through a lot. I give you a lot of credit, and you have a lot of strength. Just meeting you in this today, you have a lot of strength in you and a lot going for you. And I want to make sure we're keeping you positive. And I'll reach out to Lisa and see if we can get the referral going for the psychiatrist, and just see if antidepressants may be an option. Definitely not something we have to do, but I think that might be something we could consider and get you evaluated.
So does that work for people? That really...
Just what work?
Antidepressants?
Although I'm not the one prescribing them, I've seen them do remarkable things for people at all points of their life, because it gives a little bit of, I won't get into the pharmacology of the medication, but basically works with your brain chemistry. And when a person is suffering from depression or has depression symptoms, there is a chemical imbalance in the brain, and so sometimes a medication is needed to fix that imbalance. And it might be something, from my experience with other patients, that might give you a little boost from where you are now. And it sounds like you've been, kind of in a lower mood state since passing of your husband. And I think, it's important to discover all options and to kind of explore that. And again, it's really, you know, what we work on in here with our therapy is guided by you. You know, it's what Debbie's looking to do, what Debbie wants for her life, what you see yourself doing, and I'm here to help you achieve those things. So, do you have any questions before we kind of wrap up for today?
No, but if we do continue, so what would that involve?
Sure, that's a great question, Debbie. I think to start, I think if we meet weekly and we can meet at the time after we get out of this session, I can come up with you at the front and get you in our system for a weekly session. And I can also give you our office will give you a phone call reminder for that session. We also provide for our patients transportation. So if for some reason that's something.
I still drive, so that's not a problem.
Okay, Debbie. Okay, just wanted to
I got here by myself today.
Great, good for you, Debbie. And I really just think being able to dive deeper into, things you're struggling with emotionally as a spouse. You've lost your spouse. That's a real loss. That's something that doesn't just get fixed overnight. And you seem like a very strong woman, Debbie, and very, very warm and caring. And we just want to make sure that you're nurturing yourself and taking care of yourself during this process. And so therapy is a process. And like I said at the beginning, I think I mentioned, this office is our safe space. So you can talk about anything that's bothering you. If something comes up with one of your sons or daughters, we can talk about that. And this is really just about discovering how to keep you healthy and living, meaningful.
Well, I'm very relieved you've been so easy to talk to, and I really thought you were going to try and tell me what I had to do. So I'm very reassured that you've been very open to accepting how I feel and not just listening to my daughter. So I do appreciate that, and I think I would like to come back and talk to you some more.
Great. Well, Debbie, that's good news to hear because, you're your own person and only you can speak, I can understand how that might be frustrating feeling, in this instance with Lisa, it may feel like you don't have a voice and you certainly are not invisible. You are here, you are doing everything you can, and I really look forward to building a relationship with you and kind of exploring, where life takes you from here.
Okay,
so
that sounds good.
Sounds good?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll come up with you up front. We'll get you scheduled for next week, and then we can kind of take it week by week and see how you're feeling about what you're getting from therapy, and I will follow up with Lisa this week and just see if we can maybe get one of those, the referrals for the antidepressants. Okay?
Okay.
All right, well, why don't
Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure meeting you, Debbie. And let me walk you out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, right this way.